Okay, I believe we are live. Hi, James.
What up?
It's so nice to have you here, though.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I wanted to talk about as well. How do you spend your time off? Like, I sleep. When I don't stream, I'm just sleeping all day.
Yeah. Um, I go running on Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday recently. I switched off of Friday to Saturday. So yeah, I'm training for a marathon in March. So I've just been running a lot after the stream. And then on the off days, I usually just relax with the cat and got a big old stack of books right here trying to trying to work through. But do that. I try to just spend as little time after the stream on like the internet and social media, trying to stay grounded, trying to live an actual life and think deep thoughts instead of just processing stuff all day.
You read a lot as well. I loved your video about the books you read. It was so nice. So,
Thank
so
you.
yeah, I mean, so many good points as well about habits. I like the book Atomic Habits and what you said about it. I feel like habits are so important. There is a great quote about it, which I kind of want to like. It is maybe you hear this, I don't know, but it says uh, you plant a thought, you get an action. You plant an action, you get a habit. You plant a habit, you get a character. You plant a character, you get a destiny. Like, for me, it's so important what you said about habits, and I feel like on that note, like starting with your thoughts is really the first thing you have to do. What do you think about it? How do you develop a great habit? What would you advise?
Um, Not an easy question, you know. For me, it took a lot of work before I finally turned studying into a habit. Like maybe over 2 years of just thinking about it in the back of my mind before I really committed to this lifestyle. So maybe in high school, I started studying Japanese because that was like one subject that I actually cared about. I didn't really, in high school, I wasn't passionate about studying at all. Like I was a horrible student.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So I think that finally like laid the groundwork and kind of made me understand that you need to work in order to obtain the things that you really truly desire, the things that you can't buy, right? The things that people can hand down to you. And I still study Japanese, right? But it took a long time for me to kind of develop that tenacity. Like when you don't feel like studying, you just want to go lay down and watch YouTube videos. And it's really hard to get back into it, right? I guess what I'm trying to say is for me it was really gradual, and I think for everyone it's different, but you need to be very conscious about it, and you need to make it something that's important to you, and you also need to make it something you're passionate about.
Yeah, I agree. You love a self-help book, by the way. You told me that. I mean, you didn't tell me that. I saw in the video. Sorry, but did you read 12 Rules for Life from by Jordan Peterson?
No, I haven't read
Oh
that
my
book
God,
actually.
read that book, please. I
All right,
beg you.
I'll copy it down right now. All right.
Do you know Jordan Peterson?
Mm-hmm.
Damn, that book is so good.
All right, it's on the list.
Yeah, I mean, please, I beg you. It's such a great book. Um, I mean, I saw that you love as well Cal Newport,
Mm-hmm.
the author. Such a great author, man. I have his book. Well, I feel like this is a bit. It doesn't really get into deep stuff. It's more like a, one of those things that are a bit more, showing
Surface
stuff.
level.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
how to become a straight A student.
Oh, I've read that. I read
Oh, you
that.
read that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have a.
Oh, do you have it?
Trying to see. Let's see. No, I read it, and I think I took it back to my mom's house because I already read it, and that's not like something I need to reference too often. So
Absolutely understandable. I think he's such a great author. Like it gives. It made me think as well. Like you said in the video that made you think about like the depth of what you're studying, because it really talks about, you know, not really studying that long, but with really short period, like great depths, but short studying sessions. Like how you talked about like measuring your depth of studying ever since you read that book. Like, what is that? Can you explain more about it?
Yeah, so people don't measure how well they study correctly. They measure how long they study, they measure how good their grades are. You're measuring, your goal is your measure, but when you do that, you do things that degrade your process. Like if you want to sit down and study all day and sleep 5 hours and then do it again, it's toxic productivity. You're not maximizing the things you should be doing in your life, like sleeping and getting enough food, socializing,
Mm-hmm.
working out. And what you should be measuring yourself by is how deep you go, how often you can get deep and produce work that most other people can't produce, how focused you can get. Things like that are not valued on YouTube. And YouTube being the largest platform, the most visited website on YouTube, is becoming a resource for people, but the resources are all made by maybe misguided people who don't know what's the best for people. I think it becomes kind of toxic when people measure themselves by how long they study rather than
I mean,
how
I am
deep they
that
can go.
toxic guy, guys. I'm literally did 24 hours, but I feel like it's like a bit for kicks as well. Like people get it. Like you can't really, you know, study like these long times. But how do you measure it though? Like because depth to a certain extent is subjective. Like how can you tell? Oh my god, I was so in depth with the, you know. What
Yeah,
is your
yeah.
measure?
So at least what I do is I have like a little journal, right? And I have a part called I don't know if you can see it, it says deep work log. And then you just go to it. And then whenever you, this is my old one, hold up. Whenever you go deep, you just cross it off. And then you keep on checking it off. And then when you check it off, you write what you're doing, how you're doing, how much sleep you get, what you're studying, all the factors that came around with that, right? And if you maximize that and you try to work towards reproducing that environment and put your mind in that state, you'll produce better work in a short amount of time.
Yeah, then in longer.
Yeah, and this is something I'm still working on. Like this is my biggest goal in my studying career, right? Is trying to maximize how long I can get deep, which is extremely difficult. But
Yeah, I feel like it's like I don't know. I'm not even sure how do you. Hmm. It's rough. It's rough. It's a rough subject. It's hard to actually put some measure on
yeah,
it.
you can't quantify it. It's
Yeah.
just something that you have to feel, and that's why people don't gravitate towards that, right? It's why they gravitate towards numbers that you can search and grades that you can see. So I wish that people would value that more because oftentimes it's like, yeah, I studied 10 hours, man. But at the same time, they're also checking their email for 3 hours, responding to random shit, doing things that you could do, like your grandma could do for you, you know? You're not changing the world when you do that. You're just telling yourself a lie.
You're
I
right.
wish that on YouTube, people would, it kind of promotes that kind of behavior when well,
Well,
YouTube itself is inherently like that, right? You have to get people to click on your videos.
yeah.
So you provide them with things that they can find, you provide them with things that people want to see, which is misguided. And I'm trying to change that. So
No, I mean that's very noble. I mean I thought about this fairly enough with other streamers as well. Like what I found is, and I'm very open about it. I always talk about it as well. Like what you do for YouTube, what is best for YouTube often is not very good for your actual study career. I feel like. So you know, if you're working on, you know, making your video more clicked and stuff, you have to put work and time on that, and so you're not putting work and time on actually being a better student with, you know, let's say better grades, which is again a measure, but those two things requires time, so you rather go all out on one or the second.
I realize I've been pretty hard on myself, but I think someone has to be hard on themselves, and I'm more than willing to be that person.
Yeah, I mean that's very nice of you. Well, I always say be disciplined in your duties, but also in your rewards. So I actually get accused of the same thing on my chat. Enrico, you're too harsh on yourself. Like, give yourself a break. And yeah, I mean, it's really strong of you to say it. But yeah, I mean, we want to push ourselves, right? We want to try to improve, so we gotta be a bit like that. I
Yeah.
get that. And not do not, you know, one thing that I learned from these great figures that actually made me sort of stop to a certain extent, look at them, you know, like
Hmm.
Leonardo, Einstein as well. At one point, I was just tyrannizing myself. At one point, I was like, well, you're not good enough to this person, to this figure. You're just not good enough. I was just tyrannizing myself. Like, you don't turn into Einstein in 5 years, not in 10 years, maybe in a lifetime if you're really, really good, maybe. But be very, this is something that I learned by looking at these figures. I was tyrannizing myself so much. I was like, well, you should do more. Well, you should do best at this. You should be good, more good at this. You should be, and I was just hitting on myself. It was I was my own tyrant, you know. So
Hmm.
that's why I told you, like, okay, be disciplined on your duties, but also in your rewards. Like, you are here to help yourself, so you can help people, you know. So
I don't believe in those kinds of goals. So like, if I'm like, say if a student, right? If I don't get an A in this class, I'm not going to be happy. Then you're just shooting yourself in the foot. What you need to be happy with is becoming someone who can improve their own process and grow as a person. The things that cause you to get straight A's, you know. Um,
you talk a
so,
lot. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. Well,
yeah.
finish. I will tell. I will tell you later. Please finish your thought.
So it's that thing again. When a measure becomes a target, it's no longer a good measure. When that measure is your happiness, it becomes your happiness, then you're not going to be happy very often. I'm happy right now, even though I've studied for 12 hours the past 8 months, because I can see my own self growth and development, and I'm not burned out at all. Right? I still have a will to continue, and maybe if I was like naive at the very start and I saw I only got it took me a month and a half to get 1,000 subscribers. Those first 3 weeks, my videos were getting like 30 views, right? That's a measure, but I didn't rest my happiness on that. I rested
So
my
true.
happiness knowing that every week the stream was getting better, my study habits were getting better, I was running more. I'm fine with rewarding yourself, right? But you can't let your measures become your target and your happiness.
I agree. I mean, I think to a certain extent you need measures, otherwise you can't really hit an objective. If you don't have if you can't measure an objective, then it's not an objective. It's just it's too vague, you know. Like if you wanna let's say my objective is okay, I will study.
Yeah,
Let's say
so you need to be improving your lead measures. So your lagging measures, those are your grades, those are how long you study. Your leading measures, those are improving things around you that cause those lagging measures. If you're trying to sell, if you're trying to sell a bunch of cookies, all right, you don't you don't put them out for sale and then see what happens. What you do is you go talk to the chef and see what he thinks. You try to get more people to know about your cookies. You are not happy with your goal isn't the lagging measure, how many cookies you sell. Your goal is to improve your leading measures, things that have a direct impact on those lagging measures. So for me, that lagging measure is my grades. All right. And the things I'm trying to improve, my leading measures, how deep can I get? How much deeper, how much more work can I produce that makes those lagging measures happen?
Yeah.
So you need to be able to distinguish those types of measures and be able to determine what you need to be focusing your effort on improving. Because if you're like, man, I need to improve my grades, that doesn't tell you anything. You have to break it down. How do I improve my grades? Am I focused enough? Am I at the current level that I need to be at to understand this material? Am I is my environment bad? Is my computer, does it have too much stuff on it? Am I using social media too much? These are all things that will directly impact your grades. So those are the things that need to be improved.
Yeah.
And when you do that and that's your goal, then you get those lagging measures, things that actually matter to you, right?
Yeah.
But after a while, trust me, don't become important to you anymore. Your lagging measures, your grades will be great, but what's even better is like your own individual personality. The things that cause you to get those grades, your self-discipline, your like academic ingenuity, those are the things that you become, that you start like valuing. And it takes a while for you to recognize that, right? As a kid, you're told, man, you must have been really smart to have gotten a good grade on this assignment. Nice job. You're not told, wow, you must have been really hard. You must have worked really hard on this assignment to get a good grade. And
True.
it doesn't set up the right mindset for most people, because then most people will think that kid was probably too smart and I'll never be like him. They're not thinking, wow, that kid must have been really hardworking. I need to
Yeah.
be like him too.
Yeah. They don't think about the process.